Hi guys, and welcome back to the OQLIS YouTube channel. So today I will be giving you an overview of data models in OQLIS. This video will be split into two parts. This one will cover the basics like what is a data model, how to set one up, and some tips and tricks to improve your data models. If you already know all of that and want to learn some more advanced techniques, then be sure to check out part 2 of this video. If you're new to OQLIS, you can start by navigating to the Data Model tab in the left-hand side menu. If your OQLIS instance has got existing data models, they'll be listed on screen. Otherwise, you can click Add New to create a new data model, but I'll go into that shortly. So some of you may be wondering, what is a data model? Well, a data model is essentially an environment for you to view and reformat your data from your database into a format that best suits your needs. Let's click on the coronavirus data model to see what I'm talking about. Now, this is quite a complex data model and can be quite daunting for new users, but I can assure you it is possible to make much simpler data models, but the overall principle remains. If we click Run, we can see how our data looks below, and obviously if you make changes in your data model, they will be reflected here. So let's start by creating a basic data model. Now, if you haven't already done this, the first step would be to create a connection. You can do this by navigating to the Connections tab, where you will see a list of active connections. If one of your connections has failed, you'll be notified with an error message as shown here. To create a connection, you'll click on Add New and then select a connection type. I'm going to use MySQL. And then obviously you'll fill in the various prompts on screen and then click Test and then Add. Now, I'm not going to create a new connection since I've already got an existing one which I'll be using to create my data models. But we can now start with the creation of a data model. We're going to begin by clicking on Add New, and once this page is loaded, we will then select a connection. In this case, it'll either be the connection you've just created, or if you have an existing connection like I do, then you're going to select the connection that you want. This will show a list of schemas on the left hand side here where you can select your data from. And then you can also select different access levels and department depending on how your organization is structured. So I'm just going to leave those blank since this is just a test site. So the most basic data model you can create is basically selecting all from a specific schema. And to do that, you're going to type in the following query. You'll make sure your spelling and cases are correct in this query, otherwise it won't work and your query won't load any data. So if we click Run now, you'll see this is now an overview of our data, and now we have created our first data model. So how can we improve it now? Well, for starters, sometimes large data sets can have like hundreds or thousands of columns, and we don't need all the columns, So we can select specific columns by specifying the names, which we can get by clicking on the down arrow by the schema name. So I'm going to select the first 3 columns like so. Also remember to have the correct spelling and cases in your column names as well. Now if we run this, you can see we only have three columns showing now, because this is now a subset of our main data set. Another common problem is that column names can be hard to distinguish, especially in automated data sets or data sets that come from some sort of automated process. because the columns can often have codes or numbers as their column names. So if we want to change the column names, we can do that with an as function. So I'm going to change this column since it's supposed to represent a number, but it just says NO. So we can do that by saying as and then giving it the preferred column name. And now if we run this, you'll see that column name has now been changed to number. Lastly, I will show you how to change a numerical column into a categorical column. So we can do that with a case when function, and specifically here we're going to be looking at house age. So this represents the age of a house in years, obviously. But now what if we wanted it to say old or new rather, and give it some rules to follow. So we'll do this with a case when function, like so. I'm just going to push enter here just to clear up some space and make it more readable. So we'll start by saying case when house age is less than 10, then new, else old. And then we're going to say end. And if we run this now, you can now see that we have 2 new houses and what looks like 8 old houses. But now you see our column name has changed again, so we're just going to add a name on the end of this, again with the as function. And that should now rectify the wrong column name. And if we want the original column to show as well, then we just specify it here before the case when and add a comma afterwards. So now we'll have 4 columns. One has got the house age in numbers, and one has the house age in a category. It's also important to make sure that these are different names. So obviously this column is using its original name, and this one is now using the name I've given it. But if I change this to x2 house age as house age like this, then I would get an error because 2 columns can't have the same name. Okay, so that is all for this video. If you want to know more, please make sure to check out part 2. And thank you for watching.